Hey, it's Ken Ray here. Thanks for joining me. I've created a small PowerShell app that can be used in a number of different scenarios. But in this example that I'm going to go over in this video, this will be geared towards maybe wanting to test and prove out recovering VMs at a second site, maybe for disaster recovery purposes, business continuity purposes. And you'd use something like this when you don't already have an orchestration tool or a set of software that can actually crack open one of our snapshots or traverse a data store to easily recover VMs. So here I'm in a lab environment for this demonstration, and I've got a few different data stores with a couple of VMs on each one. But it really wouldn't matter if I had several data stores or 100 VMs on each of the data stores. The process would basically be the same. So I can simulate that I've replicated a snapshot to the second site and then provision that to my VMware environment at the DR location, or if I'm using active DR and I've now promoted that site, this is something I could use to easily register the VMs, connect them to the network, power them on, that type of thing. So I'll start with clicking the register VM. So this is kind of a modular piece of app here, so that if you wanted to use just one of these, you could. So the first one is I'll register the VMs, and I'll put in the vCenter credentials. And then I'll connect over to the vCenter. I can see that I'm connected, and then it'll bring up a list of all the data stores. And I'm going to select the ones that I've already provisioned to the environment, DR1, and then this will actually scan it. It'll look for the VMX files, ensuring those VMs aren't already registered, and it'll build out a list. And again, I've just got a couple on each one of these, and I can select them and then click the register VMs, and it'll bring up a couple of different options. I'll select the folder in which I want to place these VMs, and I'm going to go with DR1. So I've already created VM folders over here to kind of line up with the data store names. I'll select the resource, where I want them to run. I'm just going to select the cluster. And then I can add a suffix to the VM name to kind of denote it for DR purposes. So I'm going to put -DR on there and hit register the VMs. And I'll see that it registers them successfully. I can go then to my next data store, DR2, scan it. It'll go through basically the same process. It'll build it out a list. I can select the VMs. And again, hit register. Place them in, the DR2 folder. I'll just select the cluster as a resource, and then I'll add the suffix again. So it appends that onto the VM name. And then I'll go to the last one, DR3, and I'll scan that data store. And we can see these popping up over here under their folders, DR1, DR2. And then when these get selected, register them. I'll go to DR3. I'll select the cluster, hit yes, and then add the suffix again. So there, now I've actually registered all the VMs in the locations I wanted to, so that piece is done. The next thing I want to do is maybe connect them to the network. And maybe it's because it's DR, I've got a separate network over there that I want to utilize for testing. So I'll hit connect. Again, I'm going to need to put in the vCenter credentials. Hit connect. And then I'll locate the folders, the VM folders. I'll go to DR1. I'll see the VMs in there. Select them. Select the network. I've got one created called DR network that's only to be utilized for these purposes. Hit connect to network, and then I can see that those were connected. I'll do the same here under DR2. Connect those to the network, and DR3, select those VMs and connect them to the DR network as well. So now I've registered the VMs, I've connected them to the network. The next steps will be to power the VMs on. hit connect. I'll select the folder again. It'll bring up the list of them. Select the VMs. Hit power on. The VMs are powered on. Go to the next folder. Select those as well. Power those on. And then I'll go to the last one. And I'll power those on as well. So there I can see that I've registered the VMs. I can look over here. I can see they're registered in the folders. I've connected them to that network, the DR network, and then I've powered each of them on. And now I can go through and do whatever testing I need to do to kind of validate the data is replicated over there. And then I can come back and just kind of work backwards and power those two off. Go to the next folder. Select those, power those off, and then go to the last folder there, DR1. Select those two, power them off. So there, now I've got them powered off. And the last step would be to unregister the VMs. Connect over there. Hit connect, go to the DR, select them, unregister the VMs, do the same for DR2, unregister them, and then do the same for DR3. There. So now I went through a process of easily registering the VMs, connecting them to the network, powering them on, doing whatever I needed to do to test it. Then I could power them off, unregister them, and then I'm done with my testing. If you have any questions or you'd like to try out this PowerShell app, just let me know. Thanks.